Healthy self-esteem starts by recognizing that we are created in the image of God, which means we are of immeasurable worth to the Creator. But if we stop there, we become self-centered and do not honor God. He wants us to see His image in others too. Every human being is a bearer of God's image. Everyone is valuable in His sight. He wants us to see their value too. Sometimes it can be hard to see the image of God in others. This can be due to many reasons. Maybe they scare us. Maybe they mostly seem mean or angry. Maybe we simply don't understand them. But none of these things takes away from the fact that everyone is made in the image of God. This is something we all have in common, but how we treat others varies. Jesus gave a parable about separating sheep and goats. That may not mean much to us, but his hearers would have been very familiar with this concept. Sheep and goats could be hard to tell apart at night. The goats were brought in for warmth, while the sheep were able to stay outside, warm in their own wool. Jesus used this analogy to describe something else. Let's read Matthew 25, verses 33 through 40. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." When Jesus says the least of these, he is not saying the least important or the least valuable or the least worthy. He's talking about people who are often overlooked, those who are hungry or thirsty, strangers, people who need basic care, and those who are sick and prisoners. With the analogy of the sheep and goats, Jesus was saying that it can be hard to distinguish between those who have a heart of compassion and those who don't. But one way you can see this inner beauty is in how we serve others. When we recognize others as people who bear the image of God, just like us, then we treat them with love and compassion in some of the simplest ways. And when we do that, we are loving and serving Jesus himself. You may not find yourself in a prison this week, or even passing by a homeless person, but there are always people around you who need to see the love and compassion of God. Here are a few practical ways to serve and see the image of God in others. When you hear the word family, who comes to your mind first? Think for a bit about someone in your family you haven't thought of in a while. How can you encourage or help them? Think about people who you go to school with. Have you noticed anyone who is particularly quiet or sits alone at lunch? Consider inviting them to sit with you. Or maybe bring them a snack just to be kind, giving you a reason to start a conversation. Is there a neighbor you have seen but haven't talked to? What could you do to show them God's love? Maybe it's leaving a kind note to brighten their day. Perhaps you could rake leaves or shovel snow or mow the lawn for them. Remember that Jesus said offering a drink to someone who was thirsty was offering a drink to Jesus himself. You don't have to do big things to make a big difference in someone's life. It starts by noticing people that you don't normally notice. Then remember that they bear the image of God and love them like Jesus.